can listen to me as someone who is sort of gaining traction in the space and see how, like, learn from my mistakes so you don't have to, you know? So I think a lot of us go into it and we're like, oh, but, you know, we're meditating, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing all this left brain shit, and we're not just, like, sitting with it, you know? And sometimes, like, I really don't think that's all that different than, like, you know, drinking your problems away just because you're doing it in a really formal setting, you know, with a substance that's, you know, obviously much, like, better for you in a small dose. At the same time, it's like just habitually, that's the same sort of idea is I need to take this, I need to do this to remove myself from something. And that's a little rough, you know. I do think that, like, you know, in having a little bit of this stuff, whether it's, you know, something like wine or whether it's something like a psychedelic, can really help open you up and crack you open. And then at that point, you can choose to have whatever relationship you want with that substance, you know. Drink when you feel like it, you know, maybe microdose or do like an experience if you need to with X, Y, or Z. At the same time, don't neglect the fundamentals. Don't neglect just living life and just being, you know, and being okay with that.
You had said before that you had hurt someone close to you with a microdose, and this is something that me and Richie talk about a lot, and just, you know, knowing the benefits that you get from psychedelics. You have talked about it before on other podcasts, open up neuroplasticity, you know, the ability to deal with certain things, even breathe deeper, right? But something me and Richie talk about, and Richie's talked to me about, is not pushing it on people, not telling people this is the end-all, be-all, this is going to fix everything. If someone wants to talk to you about it, they're going to come to you with it and then talk about it. But don't be promoting it, don't be pushing it on people. As someone in that space and kind of learning as you go, just what have you seen, what have you experienced, and what have you learned from working with people with microdoses or whatever it may be?
So I'll share my own experience a little bit. I don't mind being open about it, and then I'll kind of talk about what I tend to see. It's actually usually one and the same. I sort of communicated to that person that I wanted them to change when I asked them to do this. The reality is that I was trying to just maybe help them with what I thought I was doing at the time, was helping with anxiety, helping with stopping, like, a bit of conflict, stuff like that, fighting, stuff like that. And by suggesting things like meditation, like microdosing, things like that, it's okay to introduce someone to that kind of stuff. In a lot of ways, that's sort of what I do for, you know, a living in part. But on top of that, it's also important to just love people as they are. You know, I'm not a country music fan. There's a country music song called, you know, if you're going to love her, leave her wild. And that's sort of the way I think you kind of want to take your significant other relationship, and also, you know, your relationships as far as your family and friends go. Like, a lot of what you might look at as a problem in some person, or not even consciously, like maybe it's just like, oh, well, they tend to be like this, so I'll help them do this. Like, you don't even consciously think about how it's going to impact them. That might make them feel like you're taking something away from who they are, and that's probably the most fucked up feeling that you can get from someone that you love, you know? And the other thing to think about is, or to really, like, sink into and feel, is you also need to know what place are you doing it from. In my case, was I doing it from a grounded, whole, complete, emotionally connected space? Not at all. You know, I was doing it from a heady space where I was so disconnected with my own feelings. I wasn't also being there for this person for moral support and just being there, honestly. And that includes, like, not just for problems, that includes just aspects of myself that I lost touch with, just, you know, having fun, goofing off, you know, adventure, play. And it's such an and both plus and more situation. I think a lot of us tend to neglect that. And of all the things I've done in this space, you know, I still meditate, you know, almost every day. Like I said, I do some of that breath work when I need it. Obviously, like, there's sciencey stuff I can do with athletes, with breath work and a lot of other things. I still get very left brain when I need to. I'm glad I did psychedelics. At the same time, though, I think like the most impactful thing I've done has been just a lot of the work that like Mike's introduced me to, and just learning, just being again. It's like not even something I have to think about now. It just is. And that's felt really, really good. I think I'm not sure how well I actually answered your question there, dude, versus just like shared my own thing. I do see that with a lot of other people, though. I always feel like stories put asses in the seats, and so that's mine.
So I know for both of us, our journey into taking psychedelics seriously is coming from, I guess, somewhat you could call it like maybe a depressive state. Now I kind of realize that is more of, it's not depression, it's more of like feeling like you're not living up or fulfilling your purpose, or even knowing what your purpose is, and trying to figure all of that out. That was what sent me down to Peru the first time. I was living in San Diego, and one of the most beautiful places in the world, and I just, for some reason, wasn't really stoked or happy on it. And that was like the first time I had heard of ayahuasca, maybe a year before, and I've got to get down there to try this. And then that's kind of still been the process, and that was what it was originally that turned me, or how I discovered microdosing. And then as I was doing that, trying to kind of navigate the waters of having those rainbows and unicorn days every day, I got into the performance aspect of it and using it in training and then in racing. So I ran the Leadville 100 last year, microdosing, and then I've run a couple shorter like local races, but I've also did the Boston Marathon this year and the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon, and it's been a pretty amazing experience. And I've been trying to talk to people about the performance enhancing benefits, and it has nothing to do with what most people consider nowadays what they think of performance enhancements, like with EPO or with testosterone, those things where they're allowing you to recover faster so you can train harder or get back to training. My experience of what I'm now looking or viewing as performance enhancement is, if I'm suffering climbing up a mountain and, I may start thinking of some, being on like a negative loop, and then all of a sudden I look and I see this cloud formation, and it just blows my mind how, the layers and the intricacies of the clouds, and all of a sudden I have this extreme appreciation and gratitude for the clouds, and then that changes my mindset into a positive mindset. Like, isn't that performance enhancement in itself? And then I've also experienced, like, I'm able, like Jimmy had said, tap into my breathing more and breathe deeper, and use that to control or regulate my threshold. And I'm also feel like I'm more keen or in tune with my movement patterns and how my legs are moving, and in the proper mechanical ways. And that, to me, that is performance enhancing too. So it's like, what do we really consider performance enhancement?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, man. Like, in some ways, kind of healing and dealing with your shit, healing and dealing. Might have to hang on to that.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Healing and dealing, mind-body space, and drug dealers. Healing and dealing, wheeling and dealing. Yeah, man, I mean, for sure. I think that doing a lot of the stuff that really kind of helped, it could do one of two things. And this is an either-or situation. Sometimes and. A lot of athletes, what makes them so great is because they dissociate from themselves, I think. They are able to just dissociate from pain, dissociate from some of the balance in life, and really just get that singular fixation. That's almost what I did on my business on accident, until it became not fun anymore. And the other side of that is you also can find a lot of athletes who might have something mentally holding them back, and then doing some of this work, whatever constellation of it is, can really helped shine them on to being able to take the game-winning shot, you know, being a Kobe or a Jordan, being able to not have that subconscious blockage in their life that's going to lead them to self-sabotage too. So I do think a lot of that stuff, whether you want to look at it from sort of an artist perspective and at the same time from a science perspective, I mean, it really does help. As you put it too, like, and you've heard me talk about on other podcasts, there's like neurophysiologic tuning that happens from, you know, appropriately dosed like psychedelics, like in conjunction with the right diet and, you know, balance and blend of everything else that you're doing in your lifestyle. At the same time, I think there's some philosophical benefits, you know, and that same effect you notice that like helps you check in is probably something you could use day to day. But if you're using it day to day, you don't want to have that sort of analgesic effect, the getting rid of pain that maybe you're kind of supposed to feel, you know? So I also think that, yeah, I think in the future we're going to have like, just like corporate teams that sponsor psychedelic outings, we're going to have sports teams that go out and do team bonding like that with that kind of stuff. I do think though that there's going to be some like unexpected dropouts from doing this stuff. You know, my favorite NBA player now is Larry Sanders, and he's a guy who probably could have been a perennial all-star for his ability, his defense, and he walked away from the NBA. You know, they tried to say it was because he got popped for weed and then kind of, you know, went down the bucket. The reality is he did have a ton of anxiety he was dealing with, and he just woke up and realized that, you know, I am a father, I'm an artist, you know, I'm a boyfriend or husband, and a creator, and I also sometimes play basketball. And it's just like, I think he was one of the guys who was just sort of like, because of his ability, was recruited from such a young age, maybe because he was tall and athletic, and just sort of like kept rolling with that because it was what he was best at. And I sort of like, you know, my sporting career is, you know, it's a joke. It's just, I played for a long time. I had fun. I could have been better if I really cared about applying myself at that time, but I didn't. And so I can relate to that a lot in my own way, and also now with my business. It's like, I think I'm, especially with the strength and conditioning and combining that with the nutrition, you know, I really do think I'm one of the best in the world at what I do. And I bring that up not because I'm that great or anything. It's just that I love it and I have a passion for it. At the same time, it's not that itself, but my relationship to that created such a pressurized situation for myself. That's probably why I really hurt my girlfriend, you know, in a lot of ways. And so it's just, don't neglect the "and" is what he says, and that's what I say too.
How do you balance, you know, being one of the best strength coaches in the world, having a very successful business, but as you said, you know, you hurt your girlfriend. How do you balance being all in on your business and everything, but also trying to have a successful relationship, trying to tap into, you know, your sensitive side and that side that's going to be better in a relationship?
So I'm a super sensitive person. That's sort of the joke here. I'm so fucking sensitive, which is good because like power and strength comes from there too. At the same time, like I was really not connected to feeling before I'm seeing what I'm seeing now, and so that really interfered with that. And so from that place, that interferes with balance. It actually, believe it or not, being ultra left brain all the time is not the best thing for your business either. Like I said, you're not meant to be on the mountain all the time. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm still learning it. I'm still learning it. I'm very much in the thick of it. In some ways, I'm just getting off the starting blocks here. And it took me getting time by myself and losing one of, hopefully temporarily, losing, you know, the love of my life and one of those like once in a lifetime relationships in order to wake up from this. And now I really see what balance is. And I realize like how much I need to do on the work side to get fulfillment from it and also be successful. I'm still very money motivated. And at the same time, also just be okay, just being me and living and not having to give a shit about how good I am at my job or what other people think.